Saunders Andrade. It's been a bit of a confusing one for all concerned, I think. So I'll just set out what I know, which is what I think most boxing fans know, which is that Saunders a couple of weeks ago tested positive for something that's on the banned list with VADA. It's not on the banned list out of competition with WADA, and obviously he took it out of competition. The British Boxing Board of Control adhere to WADA, so he'd done nothing wrong with them. The Massachusetts State Athletic Commission under US anti-doping also adhere to WADA, so presumably he'd done nothing wrong with them either, but at the hearing earlier in the week, they've still decided that they are not going to license him to box. Have they given you any explanation for their decision?
I think a lot of some of what you say is correct, but ultimately the testing for this fight was done under VADA. It was something that wasn't sprung on anyone. It was signed up by both fighters to ensure that both fighters were clean in this fight. He failed a drugs test under those terms, and contractually he failed a drugs test under those terms, under the VADA code, and that alerted and I think concerned the Massachusetts State Commission. You know, I saw Frank Warren's comments that, Eddie Hearns, he's glad about this, and he remained neutral throughout. You know, on one hand, I've got a fighter who wants to fight Billy Joe Saunders, but has requested drug testing, and that his opponent has failed a drugs test. And on the other hand, I don't want to influence the decision of the commission, so I did stay quiet on it. But if you want my opinion, he failed a drugs test under VADA, and for UCAD or WADA to think that in competition in boxing should only be on the night of the fight is a farce. So you're saying that a fighter can take oxylofrine or ephedrine throughout the entire camp and cut weight and become stronger and faster and potentially more dangerous in the fight, and then come off that substance 3 or 4 days before the fight and test clear is a farce for the sport of boxing. So I'm not going to get into the politics. I wanted this fight. We wanted this fight for Dazn. This was a big fight for world boxing. But we can't ignore the fact that Billy Joe Saunders has failed a drugs test for what he signed up for.
It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, October the 17th, 2018. I'm TstreeT Controversy. This is TstreeT Controversy Live, and it is Fight Week. Shout out to my homie up in Boston, Donnell Haynes, who's going to be covering the fight for us. Thank you to the Match Room. Thank you to the Zone, obviously, for allowing us into their event. I'm looking forward to the fight. Let's just get the nitty-gritty out of the way. Obviously, the fight is going to be on the Zone. Now that the Canelo Felding press conference was this week, this fight with what was supposed to be, it's a shame. Like, it's really, really fucked up that this happened. But unfortunately, it is what it is. It was supposed to be Saunders versus Andrade. Now we're getting Andrade versus Walter. Damn it. Butchering his name again. I'm going to get it right by the Walter. We're going to call him Walter K. This guy right here. African from South Africa he's from, right? Namibia. I know that. Julius Ndangu is also from there, former Unified 140-pound champion. The question is about this guy is there's nobody that you know of on his resume. I got a chance to look at whatever footage there is out there of him. Don't worry, I did the work for you. And what I see, obviously, he's got the power, but overall skill, it's not there. I mean, maybe he could pull a Julius Ndangu. Fights like this happen when a fighter comes out of nowhere and upsets the odds. I mean, look at what happened with Sergio Martinez. Just out of nowhere. Even Manny Pacquiao all those years back. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that Walter Kautondokwa is that, but we'll see if a star is going to be made. Now, Canelo might be there this weekend. Some UK stars are going to be there. Overall, looking at the card, you got Tevin Foreman versus James Tennyson. Andrade, obviously, is the main event. Kid Galahad, Toka Khan, Cleary. Katie Taylor versus Cindy Serrano. Really looking forward to that fight. Tommy Coyles over here in the States versus Ryan The Keels, whatever. Scott Quiggs on the card. Solid card, not a great one, but remember, this was supposed to be Saunders versus Andrade. And Saunders, to his credit, right, I don't consider him a drug cheat. And you're going to hear Eddie Hearn say something right here, which I'm going to combat a little bit in regards to the drug and how he feels about UK fighters taking it, because it's legal over there. You know, the problem is, and the big issue I have, and the right measures was taken, is that, hey, listen, Billy Joe, we know it's legal over there, but you signed a contract for VADA to be the governing body of the drug testing. So therefore, you thought you can just fail a test and there be no repercussions? That don't make no sense. In no way, shape, or form. Hold on, let me go back some.
That Billy Joe's fight for world boxing is a farce for the sport of boxing. So I'm not going to get into the politics. I wanted this fight. No, we wanted this fight for Dazn. This was a big fight for world boxing. But we can't ignore the fact that Billy Joe Saunders has failed a drugs test for what he signed up for. Otherwise, the sport becomes a complete mockery. So, you know, I believe that Billy Joe Saunders didn't know about a substance he was taking. Now, I don't think he knowingly cheated or intended to fail a test. But as an athlete,
I think that his team knew. It's your responsibility to know. Like, for example, right, just put your manager hat on. Or say, for example, if you was a promoter and you had a fighter, right, they give you a contract. You're supposed to thoroughly read that contract, right, because they can slide some old shit in there, right? So when you sign up for a contract for drug testing, you just don't motherfucking take the shit and slide it to the slide it to the side. You got to read it and say, okay, what am I not supposed to be taking? What the fuck is Azoxyl? What the fuck is that in? I be paranoid like fuck going just to, you know, a deli or something. I'm going anywhere getting a drink. What the fuck is in that? You know, especially when you're a boxer. So I think this, my personal opinion, obviously, it's just an opinion, is that Billy Joe Saunders and his team have been always taking this. I feel a lot of UK fighters are taking that, and there's nothing wrong with it as long as they're fighting in the UK because it's legal over there. Guys like Cal Brook, who has issues with weight, I'm not saying he's taking that, but also there may be substances that are illegal over here in regards to VADA, or just with VADA in general, that aren't legal when it comes to the UKAD, the United Kingdom Anti-Doping. So I feel that Saunders' team was like, well, it is that loophole because it's legal and you always been using it. But over here, over there, if you fight in the States, you can't use that shit, especially if you sign up for VADA. It was a risky maneuver, but, you know, it's either negligence or it's like, meaning you didn't know any better. You didn't read, you know, the shit or look it up or look up what oxybutynin, whatever that shit is. You didn't look it up. Or it's like, well, maybe we'll be able to get away with it and say, well, we always been using it. That means that you had the competitive advantage, or you were trying to get the competitive advantage, because if Andrade was to use it, the motherfucker would have been suspended. He would have been suspended for a year, 6 months to a year. First offense is going to be likely 6 months, but that's dependent on the boxing commission. For example, Canelo, he got suspended for 6 months. Normally, you get suspended for a year. But since it was his first offense, and he's technically, because truthfully, it's because he's Canelo, they was like, all right, we'll give you a slap on the wrist. We're not going to suspend you for a year. We don't give a fuck if it's contaminated meat or not. You admitting that shit was in your system. So 6 months suspension, we're done with it. So in this case, I think it was, I think they tried to exploit the loophole. You know? So listen to this right here.
You have to be responsible for the codes of testing. And, I can't tell you about the Massachusetts Commission decision because it was a decision made by an independent authority. But they've looked at the facts. They've looked at the fact that this guy signed up for VADA and failed a VADA drugs test, and he had to be sanctioned. And the sanction was...
Simple as that. And don't get me wrong. Listen, I'm upset that the fight is not happening. I'm very upset with Billy Joe. I'm very, very upset with Billy Joe. But it's like, we can't have, like, for example, I said it earlier. People may think I'm a hater, but when it comes to these boxing drug testing rules, we got to make sure that shit is straight. It's not going to happen. I know people probably going to say, man, you need to stop talking about it. He's already not going to get stripped. And I'm talking about David Benavidez, who failed the drug test for cocaine. Y'all got to stop doing that shit.
they wouldn't approve him. It wouldn't approve his license, and now on the WBO rules, he'll be stripped of his title. Whether that happens in time for October the 20th, as we know, Andrade will now fight a Kautondokwa.
This interview was done last week before the statement from Saunders and his team came out that they vacated the title. So it was kind of like they was like, you can't fire me because I quit.
Who's number 2 with the WBO, 18 wins, 17 knockouts. For the WBO interim worst way to be upgraded to the full title, subject to Saunders' appeal. But we want this fight, and if Andrade becomes champion, we're prepared to make this fight next, because it's a big fight for boxing. But we also can't just make a mockery out of VADA testing. And UKAD as well have to look at their rules.
Listen to this.
The British Boxing Board of Control out of this. That concerns me, that my fighter may be going in to fight fighters who can take substances like that in camp and be deemed to be out of competition.
Well, I think that is what has really surprised and shocked a lot of people, in the wider boxing public, that there's this discrepancy between in and out of competition, because it seemed amazing when we discovered that technically under WADA he'd done nothing wrong. But would you say now that basically VADA testing needs to be across the board for everybody? Everybody must sign up to it, and they are the gold standard.
I think VADA is the agency. As far as I'm concerned, of all the agencies we've dealt with, VADA is the standout agency that we rely on. It panics and horrifies me, the fact, like I said, that fighters are allowed to take these substances in training to cut weight, like I said, to make them faster, stronger, therefore punch harder, and be more dangerous in a sport, a combat sport, where the aim is ultimately to render your opponent unconscious. How on earth can you let fighters take these substances building up to a fight? That's why I stand by VADA as a testing agency. I think if there's anything we can learn from this, there needs to be a greater understanding from fighters and trainers as to the rules. But everybody else who signs up for VADA knows the rules. And you can't just, again, sign up for a testing program and have a fighter fail a drugs test and then just push it under the carpet and say, don't worry. Because under VADA code, and that is the agency that were designated for this testing for this fight, he failed a test. And in competition with VADA is all year round. There's no in and out of competition.
Well, let's move on to the...
So, that's it right there. That's it right there. But however, you have to wonder how many of his fighters are using it. It's like, fuck, Eddie. What the fuck, man? So hopefully this shit don't come and bite him in the ass later on. Right? But nonetheless, I'm looking forward to the zone card. But then again, I'm looking forward to every card. I was looking forward to the World Boxing Super Series card with Andrew Tabiti versus Ruslan Fafer. And motherfucking Jack Catterall versus O'Hara Davies. Oh my God, it was horrible. But I look forward to it. That was my job. We got a lot of fight week videos coming. I'm tired. Been up since 4 a.m. It is now 5:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, September the 17th, Wednesday, 2018. So today, obviously, Canelo, the news was officially announced that Canelo has signed with the Zone an 11-fight, $365 million deal. Crazy shit, man. Anyway, I'm going to be covering the press conference tomorrow. I'm going to be covering the weigh-in, and we're going to be covering Fight Night, obviously. I'm TstreeT Controversy. This is TstreeT Controversy Live. Please subscribe.